For our project, our group selected the Stolberg City Archive. This archive is located in Germany and has been operating since 1972. It's open to researchers, historians, citizens, and public officials at no cost. The city archive is located in one of Europe's oldest heritage sites. Unfortunately, the Stolberg region was struck by flooding, which caused heavy damage in the town, including to the archives. In normal times, the city archives houses a wide range of materials, such as materials related to the city administration, taxes, and laws, historical photographs, historical documents related to family histories, estates, companies, and club archives, maps, newspapers, and other ephemera, historical literature, and town publications. The archives houses materials that encompass a wide geographical range as well, covering many other German city districts.
The Stolberg flood occurred in the summer of 2021 and was caused by heavy rain and the bursting of rivers in the area. The result was a flash flood that damaged homes, city buildings, and roads, resulting in apocalyptic-like scenes. Both the city archives and two external depots storing archival collections were submerged in muddy water from the flood. As you can see from the photos, the damage to the Stolberg archives was catastrophic, especially to its collections. Historical collections dating back to the 17th century were destroyed, and documents, maps, photos, books, and museum objects stored within the buildings suffered extensive water damage.
And these weren't just water damage, they weren't just submerged, they were also covered in mud. So it was a pretty big recovery effort and is an ongoing pretty big recovery effort. Long term, according to the Stolberg Archives website, nobody's allowed to view the documents or even visit the archives until further notice. So the place is closed. Okay, it might seem like a bit of a stretch to try to find a positive in all this, and it is. It's not a good thing. But a potential silver lining to this disaster is that it does demonstrate in a very real way how irreplaceable and vulnerable these artifacts are. And not just to archivists and people like us, but to government agencies and people who can do something to help fund better preservation efforts. Like you see here, where the German government earmarked a portion of disaster relief funds to help with restoration of the archives. Now, that's restoration. It's not preservation or prevention, but it's a step in the right direction. And hey, maybe some preservation going forward.
The disaster response was overseen by the city archivist. Also involved were the Army, the Fire Brigade, and Technisches Hilfswerk, the Emergency Association of Köln, and local volunteers. During the retrieval portion of the recovery efforts, a generator was provided by the local fire brigade. This allowed for water pumps, lights, and a ventilation system to be set up so that the basement-level storage areas were accessible. A human chain was formed to carry items up out of the basement. Full-body PPE, including Tyvek suits and rubber boots, were used down below, and masks and gloves used above. Since this event took place in 2021, COVID-19 safety precautions were also observed as possible. During the treatment portion of the recovery efforts, an emergency mobile workstation from the Emergency Association of Köln was utilized. This transportable lab features rinsing and drying stations, prep area for freezing, and a photo treatment area. Outdoor, all-weather tents were also used for additional work and storage space. Once treatment was completed, items were either transported to cold storage or to a nearby area to air dry. A disaster plan consists of multiple pieces. We'll start with an emergency information call sheet. It might be structured like this template from the Council of State Archivists. It includes contact information for any party who might be needed in the disaster response and recovery efforts. It is also helpful to include a phone tree so that each member of the team knows who they are responsible to contact and in what order. There should also be a list of members of the emergency response team, each of their responsibilities and contact information, like this template from the California Preservation Program. This further lays out responsibilities, so each person can easily see what they should be focused on during recovery efforts. Also included is a list of collection salvage priorities. What in our collection is the most rare, valuable, or vulnerable? Where are we focusing our efforts first? Also included are appendices such as a checklist for inspections, response and recovery instructions, record-keeping forms, detailed building plans including locations of shut-off valves and priority collections, and resource lists such as an in-house emergency supply inventory. In response to a disaster like the one at Stolberg, the following actions could be taken in addition to the general list provided on screen. If it is safe to do so, take steps to reduce or avoid immediate water damage. Remove dry materials from the water source. Air dry damp materials. And rinse and freeze muddy materials to avoid further deterioration.
When talking about preservation and taking steps to protect the artifacts in our care, we often think of things like mold, decay, and slow, long term issues, and certainly these are important. But this was about a flash flood, something instant, a natural disaster. The takeaway, I think, is to have a plan, both to preserve so that ideally this sort of thing doesn't happen, and to have a plan for what to do when the unexpected does happen and follow through on that plan, and also stay as flexible as possible, all while keeping in mind Murphy's Law and Mother Nature.